Good morning. So here we are. It is Youth Wednesday Scrambled. Usually you see Dave Stankiewicz, who is St. Mark's Youth Director, at this space and time. But today it's me, Deacon Mimi. First thing I want to tell you is that I first heard of Dave, the famous St. Mark's Youth Director, probably about 20 years ago when I was working at Good Shepherd up in Tequesta. He had already made a name for himself in those days. Of course, first of all, Dave is impressively tall. You could get a crick in your neck looking up at him. And then, in addition to being St. Mark's Youth Director, Dave is known as a baseball coach, a high school science teacher, even a school bus driver. This man is all about kids. Dave was a legend even in those days, and now he's a triple legend. I am so happy that I've gotten to know him better by being here at St. Mark's. It is so terrific. So I decided it was time to bring the triple legend back to reality. I decided it was time to roast Dave. So I contacted a few of the current youth group kids and asked them if they would participate. I asked for stories about times when maybe Dave messed up or did something silly, something that they could share with us. And so they were so happy to oblige. And now I want to share some of these stories with you. Wilson Goins, you've been on a bunch of mission trips with Dave. What story would you like to share?
I'm going to be talking about one of the very few times he's gotten mad at us. I think that everyone knows Dave as someone who is very nice, is understanding. He's pretty patient most of the time. I've been on, I think, 5 or 6 mission trips with him, and he's gotten mad at me maybe a handful of times. So one of the times we were in Costa Rica, it was in July of 2018, and we were nearing the end of our trip, and we went to a kind of mix between, it was a resort and a water park, and they had a buffet there. And so we're going up to this buffet, and we were waiting to be checked in, and it's like 30 of us that are standing around, and some of us were playing sticks, the game on your hands, other people playing rock, paper, scissors, and then me and another one of my friends, who I won't name, we were playing this game to see who could scream this word the loudest without being caught, and basically whoever chickens out first loses. And it got pretty loud, and so I yelled this word, and I turn around, and Dave is just staring at me, and he yells my name, and it was the most scared I've ever been in my entire life. I was literally shaking, my heart was racing, I had goosebumps. It was terrifying, and he told me not to do it again. Like, he was not joking. It was so scary. And then he apologized like 3 more times over the next 2 days, because I know he felt so bad about it, even though he was totally in the right. And it was a really funny moment. And when Dave gets mad, which is so infrequently, it's very funny to see him apologize later on, because he feels so bad, and he's genuinely such a nice guy.
Thanks, Wilson. I love that. Sounds like you were scared, maybe for about 2 seconds, right? And now, let's hear from Grace Favoli. Grace is newer to the youth group, but she has Dave's stories to tell as well. Welcome, Grace.
Back to a funny story that I share with Dave. I was thinking of the time that I was supposed to go on my first retreat outside of school. And I was so excited to go to this beautiful forest, lake area, and we were all getting on the bus. Everyone was there, all 20 of us kids. And our bags loaded on the back of the bus. Our parents have already left. We're all sitting in our seats eating snacks, talking, and the engine's not starting. So Dave calls our PE coach, and we're trying to work it out. and 2.5 hours go by, and we're still in the bus sweating. So we all unpack our stuff, and we all go inside the gym, and this is where our retreat is going to be, the gym instead of the forest. It ended up being one of the best retreats I've ever been on, but it was definitely one of the funniest, stories on how we got there.
The best laid plans got just busted for that trip, didn't they, Grace? And yet it was one of the best trips right there across the street in the gym that you've ever taken. I love that story, Grace. Thank you. And Chris Kimmer has a great story or two as well. Chris?
Hello, my name is Christopher Kemmer, and today I'd like to talk about our amazing youth leader, Dave. I've been with Dave for about 5 years now. I've been in his youth group, and I love him. He's a great guy. He's amazing. But over the years, we have had some funny moments. We've had some challenging moments. We've had a lot of great moments. Some of the most notable moments, though, were... They were in all of our multiple mission trips that we've been on, all our retreats, all of our community service projects, but I remember meeting Dave when he first came to my house, and if you don't know what that would have been about, it was for the youth group snatching, and if you don't know what that is, first of all, it's basically when you're a new youth group member and the group, as well as Dave and some other people, came to my house, and they wake you up and they take you out to breakfast. It's just a fun way to get you into the youth group. But I just remember waking up one Saturday morning at 7 a.m. and seeing Dave in a funny costume, making a whole bunch of noises, and I didn't know what was going on. But looking back on it, I'm so funny, but a little weird also, but nonetheless, it was a great experience. Also, one more notable experience was when we were in Atlanta. Now, don't get me wrong, Dave is good at many things, but driving a Segway is not one of them. I remember we were going down the streets of Atlanta, and we were sightseeing, we were having a whole bunch of fun, until Dave got a little clumsy, and he fell off, thankfully into the grass, and he wasn't hurt, but it was just funny. I mean, not at the time, but now looking back on it, it was just one of those funny moments that we could all laugh about, and it was awesome. But Dave, thank you so much for everything that you do for us, and I wouldn't be the same person without you, so thank you.
I also asked Wilson, Grace, and Chris to tell us what biblical character they each thought Dave was most like. Now here's Grace's answer.
I think of Dave as a character from the Bible. I immediately think of Paul the Apostle, because just like Dave, Paul taught so many people about Jesus and God's Word, and I think Dave did the exact same thing for the youth at St. Mark's.
Like the Apostle Paul. That is pretty high praise, Dave. You are educating kids about the true nature of Jesus and God, just like Paul did in the New Testament. Thank you, Grace. That is very nice. What about you, Wilson?
To me, Dave is most like Abraham from the Bible. I feel that Dave is almost a father figure, and he seems to be watching over all the kids that go through St. Mark's Church program. And everyone that goes to the youth ministry looks up to Dave, and he's really always been there to take care of us. And like Abraham, I mean, we aren't Dave's kids, but he has always looked over us, and Abraham obviously had a lot of children. And to me, Dave represents Abraham from the Bible the best.
My goodness, Father Abraham. That is also very high praise, Dave. You're nurturing and guiding youth just like Abraham safely led his people into the foreign territories back in the earliest stories from the Old Testament. Chris, which biblical character is most like Dave to you?
A biblical character that Dave reminds me of would have to be Moses. I feel that they were both, first of all, they're both great people. I feel that Dave is similar to Moses in the same way that Moses led his people out of Egypt and into the promised lands to God, basically. And I feel that with Dave's work in the community and his time as a youth leader, I feel that he's taken young kids like myself and has helped lead us all to God. And I wouldn't be the same without Dave if he wasn't in my life. So I definitely say he reminds me of Moses the most, and I'm very grateful for him.
Moses, my goodness. Dave, you are identified with the big three, I do think. Wow, very good. Pretty impressive. What jumps out at me from these stories about Dave is that he is one of the nicest people in the world, even under stress. He just cannot stay mad, can he? In fact, he's so nice that it's really hard to roast him. We can only lightly toast him, I think. And now, as Dave always says, LGLO hashtag, because nothing, not even a hashtag, goes ahead of loving God and loving others. So thank you, Wilson. Thank you, Grace. Thank you, Chris. And thank you, Dave, for being you. See you guys on live stream. Bye.
Uh-oh, you're evaluating my work.
I am.
Are you subscribed?
I will with the red button.
And give us a thumbs up.
I'm a fan, of course.